The 2020 debates are now complete. All that's left is for America to decide. We are once again joined by our panel of analysts.
Political consultant Matt Klink, civil rights attorney and founding director of the UCLA Latino Policy and Politics Initiative, Sonia Diaz, and Dakota communications consultant Kerman Maddox. Welcome to you all. The final debate is in the books. And, I guess we want to know, I'll start with you, Matt. Who gets the bump in the polls tomorrow?
To be honest with you, Cher, I don't think anybody gets a bump in the polls tomorrow. I think that Joe Biden fought Donald Trump to a standstill in a much more polite and civilized manner than we would come to expect from a presidential debate. I mean, look, Donald Trump needs to make this about a choice, his way versus Joe Biden's way. I don't think he made it that clearly tonight. By the same token, Joe Biden wants this to be a referendum on Donald Trump. I don't think he made it that clearly tonight. I think that there were no major unforced errors. Nobody made a big gaffe, but Biden's ahead, so he could afford to play defense. And I think he did that tonight.
Kerman, your impression of what we saw over 90 minutes marked by civility. There were a few moments that got a little Nashville hot in the last 30 minutes, but for the most part, what we saw is what I think voters wanted to see.
Yeah, much more civil this time around, and Donald Trump performed much better than last time, but frankly, Michael, that's not saying a lot. But with respect to who gets the bump, I don't think either candidate gets a major bump, but when you figure what was at stake coming into tonight, I think Joe Biden walks away as the winner because he's ahead in the polls. He's way ahead in early voting because early voting favors him because more Democrats are voting than Republicans. So the pressure was on Donald Trump to kind of change the narrative of the campaign and reach out to new voters. And I don't think he did that. So when you look at it like this, I think Joe Biden feels very, very good. Democrats are exhaling because he didn't make any major mistakes. So I think Democrats feel good tonight, not only about their chances to win the White House, but their chances also to win some key U.S. Senate races.
Sonia, we're going to let you weigh in on the same question. 6% of the voters are undecided, a very small margin, but we know, as we've seen in 2016 and the election there, these margins, they matter. So who do you think won tonight?
They absolutely matter. And I think one of the things really important for this election is that it's happening during a global pandemic when voting is not as usual. To Kerman's point, yes, there are a lot of Americans that have already cast their ballot, that are waiting in way too long of lines, that are living in jurisdictions that do permit vote by mail. But tonight, I think what was on the ballot is what VP Biden said. Character is on the ballot. And I'm really thankful that this last debate was civil, that there were some policy issues that were brought to light. One of them, immigration, which really did not get that much attention in the prior two debates, or as you can say, the prior debate and the two town halls. So it was important to touch on issues that hadn't been touched on, and I'm glad that the debates are over.
All right, let's get to the issues, the first of which, the pandemic taking center stage early on, Trump defending his handling of the pandemic while Biden responded to the president's claims. Here are both of them.
When I closed and banned China from coming in heavily infected and then ultimately Europe, but China was in January, months later, he was saying I was xenophobic. I did it too soon. Now he's saying, oh, I should have, moved quicker. But he didn't move quicker. He was months behind me. Many months behind me. And frankly, he ran the H1N1 swine flu, and it was a total disaster, far less lethal, but it was a total disaster. Had that had this kind of numbers, 700,000 people would be dead right now.
We're in a situation where there are 1,000 deaths a day now, 1,000 deaths a day. And there are over 70,000 new cases per day. Compared to what's going on in Europe, as the New England Medical Journal said, they're starting from a very low rate. We're starting from a very high rate. The expectation is we'll have another 200,000 Americans dead between now and the end of the year. If we just wore these masks, the president's own advisors have told him, we could save 100,000 lives. And we're in a circumstance where the president thus far and still has no plan, no comprehensive plan. What I would do is make sure we have everyone encouraged to wear a mask all the time. I would make sure we move in the direction of rapid testing, investing in rapid testing. I would make sure that we set up national standards as to how to open up schools and open up businesses so they can be safe, and give them the wherewithal, the financial resources to be able to do that.
All right, Matt, to you first. This is front and center of the national conversation. What did you hear there?
The COVID is the third candidate in this presidential race. And right now, the COVID is on Joe Biden's side, meaning that President Donald Trump is 100% defensive in what he says because he is the chief executive, and everything that he has done is what is under the microscope. So when Donald Trump tries to argue that Joe Biden would have done this, it's all theoretical when Americans right now, the people died under Donald Trump's presidency, and he is ultimately responsible. Joe Biden should want an entire debate on COVID because he comes out the winner, not 9 times out of 10, 10 times out of 10.
Kerman, when you listen to how they both responded to that question, do you feel that Biden's plan was clear, or do you feel that the president was able to defend what he's done under his administration?
Well, I don't think the president's plan is defensible. And so I think, as Matt said earlier, whenever you have a discussion about COVID-19, it favors Joe Biden. But Joe Biden said something that was really critical that was not picked up on that tape. Donald Trump, when he talks about COVID, he talks about red states and blue states. I think that's a mistake. People are tired of that division. Joe Biden said something tonight that I thought was really powerful. He's going to represent everybody, red states, blue states, all Americans. And that is that point, that issue about character that Sonia talked about earlier. So I think when you look back at that tape and you look back at tonight's performance, Biden talked about bringing people together. Donald Trump continues to talk about divisiveness. And again, he's supposed to reach out to new voters, and I just don't think he did that tonight, either on this discussion or any other topics that came up tonight.
Sonia, obviously this issue is not going away anytime soon. Your impression of the candidates' responses?
Well, I really like to appreciate the moderator. I thought she did a phenomenal job. There was discussion of science and facts throughout the debate. President Trump said that 99% of young people overcome COVID. He mentioned his son, Barron. I think what is missing here is still a lack of understanding of all the American lives lost, the jobs that have been lost, the financial hardships that continue, the people who have lost their health insurance because they've lost their employment. And so I don't think that Trump has really accurately announced to the American public that we are still in the midst of a pandemic. I know so many states are seeing what people are characterizing as a third spike in the coronavirus pandemic, and we are not out in the clear yet. So again, VP Biden was clear about how to deal with the pandemic. They went back and forth over who was closing what, but ultimately we're still functioning without our families, many of us without our jobs, and unfortunately too many people without housing.
Well, President Trump, we're going to move on to this topic. President Trump accused Joe Biden of taking money from foreign sources. And in response, Biden questioned the president about why he has not yet publicly released his tax returns. Let's listen to the exchange.
All of the emails, the horrible emails of the kind of money that you were raking in, you and your family. And Joe, you were vice president when some of this was happening. And it should have never happened. And I think you owe an explanation to the American people. Why is it? Somebody just had a news conference a little while ago who was essentially supposed to work with you and your family. But what he said was damning. And regardless of me, I think you have to clean it up and talk to the American people. Maybe you can do it right now.
I have not taken a penny from any foreign source ever in my life. We learned that this president paid 50 times the tax in China, has a secret bank account with China, does business in China, and in fact is talking about me taking money. I have not taken a single penny from any country whatsoever, ever, number one. Number two, this is a president, I have released all of my tax returns, 22 years. Go look at them. 22 years of my tax return. You have not released a single solitary year of your tax return. What are you hiding?
Both of them trying to bait the other, Kerman. Let's talk about what happened there.
So President Trump is trying to make this issue about Hunter Biden for quite some time. In his sphere, they seem to think that this issue is going to resonate with a lot of people. They seem to think there's some sort of conspiracy, or that he got paid some money that he didn't deserve. He also tried to bring up the controversy of emails, which he used so effectively against Hillary Clinton in 2016. So I understand the strategy, I understand the approach, but I actually thought that was one of Joe Biden's better moments, because at the end of the day, Joe Biden got much better out of that exchange than Donald Trump. The issue of not releasing your taxes and having a secret bank account in China is really not going to resonate with a lot of people, because it just seems odd.
Matt, you're clearly aware of the allegations coming here late in the candidacy of this cycle involving Hunter Biden, the laptop, and as you heard the president reference, the big guy, something that the moderator did not reference, the president did. Your impression, does it stick?
Well, that you would never know it if you listen or watch the mainstream media. You know, the fourth largest newspaper in the United States covered the allegation that was subsequently censored on Facebook and censored on Twitter. That being said, more evidence has come out today. Kimberly Strassel covered it in tomorrow's Wall Street Journal. It has legs, and there is there that certainly Hunter Biden has done some very questionable stuff. The question is how far it links to the president and if there is a direct link. But we know that it's his brothers. We know that at Hunter, they have traded on the president's or on the vice president's influence, and there will be an investigation of it eventually, and there will be more there.
Sonia, Sonia, before we go to break, we talk about this like as an October surprise. Sorry to cut you off, but I wanted to get Sonia in. Do you think that this affects voters when it comes to Biden, or gives Trump more votes?
Not at all. I mean, this is October in 2020. There are a ton of surprises. We started with the COVID diagnoses earlier this month. I think what's important is out of this discussion, we know that one person on that stage has 3 foreign bank accounts, one that they did not disclose to the IRS. Also, we learned last debate that that same person only spent $750 in taxes in a single year. So no, I think that voters' minds are already made up. There's very few that are on the fence, and many are already casting their ballots. It's a matter of getting them out to the polls.
We are up against a break. Here it is. We'll be back with more conversation in a moment.
We do want to welcome back our panel.
Let's get some final thoughts on this debate and what lies ahead in the next 12 days before the election. Matt Klink, to you first, 20 seconds.
The race is much closer than people anticipate. This election is by no means over. The gaps are closing in key swing states, and both candidates need to be on their A games if they want to win.
Sonia.
Today was the second highest number of Americans who contracted COVID during this entire pandemic, 74,000 people. The outcome of November is really going to depend on people's ability to cast a ballot and our ability to overcome misinformation.
Kerman Maddox, final word tonight.
Good night for Joe Biden. Good night for Democrats. I agree with Matt. The race is closer than people think, but if Democrats continue to vote in these large numbers, I think Joe Biden wins the White House and Democrats win the U.S. Senate.
All right. Thank you so much to our panel. We do want to say thank you to Kerman, Sonia, and Matt for joining us tonight.
And thank you for watching as well. That's going to do it for KTLA special coverage of the final presidential debate.
Much more tonight on the KTLA 5 News at 10 and 11. Complete team coverage. Hope to see you then.